This is the Mahindra XUV400, a car that we had a chance to sample last year when Mahindra had officially unveiled it. And today we're back here again with it to do the all-important real-world range test. How did it perform? Let's find out. Looking for details on the Mahindra XUV400? It's as simple as doing a CarWale on your smartphone. Here you can get details like colors, on-road pricing, variants and feature list. Before we get into the actual numbers, it's important to note that Mahindra has launched the XUV400 in India on January 16th of this year, with prices starting at Rs 15.99 lakh and topping out at Rs 18.99 lakh. There are two charging options of 3.3 kWh and 7.2 kWh, and it can be had in 5 single tone and 5 dual tone color options. Here are the prices for the Mahindra XUV400 and how it stacks up against its biggest rival, the Tata Nexon EV. The Mahindra XUV400 can be had with two battery pack options. The lower spec one in the EC trim is available with a 34.5 kWh battery pack, while the higher spec version in the EL trim can be had with a 39.4 kWh battery pack. The EC version gets two charger options, 3.3 kWh and 7.2 kWh, while the higher spec version, which is actually what we are driving today, only gets the 7.2 kWh charger option. The motor has been tuned to produce 150 bhp and 310 Nm of torque. To perform the range test, we juiced up the car from 0 to 100%, and at the time of full state of charge, we then started our range test, and our range test involves conditions that have both a mix of city and highway. Along the way, we had the AC running as normal, and as the range test progressed, we made various observations with regard to state of charge and the power that the engine is able to produce, and we will be telling you that as the video progresses. At the 80% mark, the trip computer showed a range of 221 kilometers, consuming 20% of the battery for 62.9 kilometers. Consuming the next 20% of the battery's charge dropped our range from 221 kilometers to 165 kilometers. Up until we hit the 55% mark, the drop in range had been pretty consistent, and there was little to no range anxiety as we had an idea of how the car was discharging the battery. At the 55% mark, our range stood at 151 kilometers, and then when it dropped to 45%, the largest we had experienced, and this despite standard traffic conditions. From here on, the range began to disappear in big chunks, with the 35% mark bringing us to 93 kilometers and the 25% mark leaving us with just 67 kilometers. Now, we've been conducting our range test for a while now, and at the 20% mark, the warning light came on. And finally, as we hit the 10% mark, the car went into limp mode. Now, in limp mode, the car limits itself to 30 kmph no matter how hard you bury your foot on the throttle. That's to ensure that you have enough power to get yourself to the nearest charging point. At 4% state of charge, the AC shut off, while at the 2% state of charge, the car was limited to just 7 km an hour, and by this time, the range had stopped showing on the MID. It finally ground to a halt at 282.3 kilometers and refused to disengage from park for a short while. We were finally able to get it restarted and drive at the last 30 meters or so to the location of our charger. In our tests, we have discovered that most EVs on sale today will do 70% of their claimed range, which for this car is 319.2 kilometers. And from that, we managed to achieve 282.3 kilometers, indicative of 62% of the total battery capacity. Its biggest rival, the Tata Nexon EV Max, with a claimed range of 437 kilometers on the Nexon EV Max version, managed to do marginally better with a real-world range of 308 kilometers, achieving 65.1% of its claimed range. Now, one of the places that the Mahindra XUV400 scores big is in terms of performance figures. We also did the real world performance test, in the full tilt fearless mode, and the all important 0 to 100 kmph sprint was achieved in 8.78 seconds, which is just 0.048 seconds of Mahindra's claimed 0 to 100 kmph time. A pretty impressive figure. It should be noted that this car that we are driving comes without a traction control system of any kind, and that we did the entire performance test in the full tilt fearless mode to get access to all the engine's power and torque. While this number is bragging rights, or as kids like to call it these days, flex, the XUV400's real measure of performance is its impressive mid-range numbers. We tested the car in the full fat fearless mode, and these are the numbers that we managed to achieve. Now, in terms of driving experience, the steering of the Mahindra XUV400 did not weigh up all that well, especially at higher speeds. We expected a little more response, expected a little more weight, especially considering the fact the car still does not come with a traction control system, and it's very easy to spin up the wheels, which on the other hand is great fun, especially if you're ready to spring in for a new set of tires. It's really easy to smoke them off the line, and you can feel the car pull to one side kind of mildly, especially if you're in the fearless mode. Now, one of the places that Mahindra has managed to score pretty highly and always managed to do well, especially across their range of vehicles, is in terms of ride quality. The XUV400 feels very planted, takes bumps and imperfections with the kind of aplomb that you expect from Mahindra's SUVs, and it's kind of reassuring. Again, like we said, there's no traction control program, which means that you can feel the wheels kind of struggling for grip, and even with that, the ride quality still does feel great. It does put a slight damper on handling. You do feel the car roll quite a bit through the corners. Now, we've told you about the real world range and performance figures of this Mahindra XUV400, and you'll probably be wondering why we haven't told you about design, features and interior space, and that's because we've checked that out in our first drive review, link to which you can find in the description below. Before we sign off, here's a little request from us. Are you enjoying the content on our channel? Then do hit those like, share and subscribe buttons, and also hit that bell icon to be notified the instant we put out a new video. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.